In this video, we're going to see how to put images on buttons in Android. Why do we want to do this? Well, several reasons. Number one, in Android, pictures are faster than words, which means that a user will recognize a commonly used icon faster than a user can read a word and understand what it means. Number two, it helps us with internationalization, because if we have a picture, we don't have to translate it. Where a word, we do have to translate it. And even if we don't intend to support a specific language, if we have more images than text, there's a good chance that a user who knows that language but not our native language will at least understand how to get through the app. Now, the third reason we want to put images on buttons is, I'll quote my wife here, and it is, can you make it look more like an app? When I first released my own app, it looked like an app that a programmer wrote. It didn't look like a real mobile application. But with images on buttons, it actually has a much more professional look and feel. And in the latest versions of Android Studio, it's actually fairly easy to do. So let's consider the steps. Number one, and this might be the hardest point, we have to pick a color. Number two, when we pick a color, let's find other colors that go well with that color by using a color wheel. Number three, let's make sure we're putting image buttons on our layouts in Android and not just buttons, because image buttons are meant to hold an image. Number four rather, let's create the image and add the image to the image button. So let's start with number one, pick a color. You're at Thanksgiving, family conversation comes over to you, you say that you're writing an app, and all of a sudden what happens? Two things happen. Your family asks you two different questions. Number one, can you fix my printer? Number two, I have an idea for an app that will make millions of dollars. Do you want to partner with me? Partner is code word for work for free, but that's an aside. So you come back and you say, okay, yeah, I'll partner with you on your app. And what color do you want the app to be? And your cousin who's talking to you about this $1 million app idea is going to say, well, I don't know, just the normal colors, red and yellow and blue, I guess. It's not going to really give you a whole lot. You can ask, just the normal colors, just whatever an app would normally be. Avoid that conversation. Here's a better conversation. Don't even ask what the color should be. Instead, say, can you give me a photo that represents your app? Some kind of photo or something that just kind of is like the tree that's outside of your company or your logo or something like that. Give me a color that will give me some inspiration. That's the only thing you need to ask. So let's come over. We'll go to Plant Places here. And, of course, we can't search by color on Plant Places, but I'll just say something like a daisy. And we'll just search for daisy. So we'll find, oh, there we go. There's a black-eyed Susan. Okay, so let's start with this. Start with the black-eyed Susan here. And I'm going to save the image. And there we go, black-eyed Susan. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Adobe's color wheel, so color.adobe.com, and I'm going to create from image. And where was that black-eyed Susan? I think it was this guy right here. Love this. This is a newer feature in Adobe's color wheel. You used to have to go with an eyedropper tool and do all kinds of crazy things like that. Look at this. Now you upload the image and it says, oh, yeah, I found these colors. Is this what you want? And I think, oh my God, that's beautiful. But they also give me some options here. I can go with bright. It picks the bright colors. Pick the muted colors, deep colors, dark colors, custom. We'll go ahead and stay with colorful here. I kind of like this theme. I'm really impressed with this. So anyway, now create from color wheel. I click on that and you see what it's done here is now it has given me the RGB values for each of these different colors. So the yellow and the green I kind of like. I could do a yellow and a brown. I think for me I'll do a yellow and a green because that's fairly close to the live Plant Places app. Yeah, that works. So I'm just going to make a note of this. The hex code and the RGB, I'll note these in Notepad++ so that I can come back to them later. And there we are, the yellow and the green, the hex code, and also the triplicate number as well. Now, I went ahead and noted this kind of brownish color as well, so I've called that dark yellow. For good reason, though. Let's go. We can use these to our advantage because if we go to a file called colors.xml, we can set the theme colors for our application. Right now, it's just blue and white, the traditional Android colors, and you see there's kind of a blue, a darker blue, and then a pink. And if we take a look at the app, that's what we'll see the app currently looks like. And here we go, blah. So forgive me, I know this isn't directly related to the button, but let's go ahead and I'm just going to kind of do a little copy-paste magic here. Let's go ahead and update these colors. So let's make the primary color that yellowish color, and let's make the dark color, which is going to be the title bar, we'll make it that more dark yellow color. So there we go, we'll just do a little swapping right here. And finally the green will be the accent color. And the cool thing here is twofold. Number one, notice when I put the color in, the little color on the sidebar here updates to represent that color. So I can give myself a good gut check and ensure that, yes, that's the color that I intend. As a matter of fact, I'm glad I did because I copied the wrong color, didn't I? So we'll go back, copy it correctly this time, and then paste. The other nice thing about this is kind of there we go, there's that green color. This is kind of a single source of truth for our application because this is the only place where we need to define those colors. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and redeploy quickly, and let's just confirm that our colors have applied. And sure enough, take a look. The colors are starting to update. We'll have a little more work to do. It looks like we need to arrange some buttons here and the like, but nonetheless, you see we have the yellow color here, the darker yellow color up above, so that's our title bar or action bar, and then the darker color up above, and notice the floating action button now has a green background where it used to have a pink background. So let's take these same colors and let's make images out of them. I go back to my project view, and I'm going to go to Drawable. On Drawable, I'm going to right click and I'm going to say New, and then we'll say, let's say Image Asset, actually. Let's go with Image Asset. Okay, now this is the important part, and this is where you need a really big screen because they kind of hide some things down here. Okay, icon type, we want to choose action bar and tab icons. That'll be fine. Okay, yeah, that'll work. Launcher icons just kind of gives like a kind of shape and a background. We don't necessarily need that, so we'll go to action bar and tab icons. We could also do a notification icons. Those will work as well. But for our purpose, action bar and tab icon. Okay, the important part, clip art. Love this. Click here, and it gives you a library of standard images that are used in Android applications. So Android likes this theme of promoting learning. In other words, you learn it on one place and you can reapply it in other places. So I could do something like search for pause, and we'll go ahead and get kind of like that pause circle. That's kind of cool. So we'll choose pause. Now, important part here, the theme is currently Holo Light. Change that to custom. And now you have an opportunity to pick a custom color, and guess which one we're going to pick? We're going to pick the green color that we got from the color wheel earlier. So I simply plug that in, boom, and yep, and we'll choose with that one. Let's just confirm. Sure enough, it shows up as that green color. I choose next. It's going to create a series of different drawables. One thing I don't like is I should have given that a better name. So let's call it pause. Let's call it IC_pause. And I'll choose next. And looking good, so I'll hit finish. And I'll repeat this for 3 other icons as well. Just confirming here, it was kind enough to create our pause button for us with that color. So what I'm going to do is emulate the Plant Places application and add a save button, also an open and a camera. That will take a few minutes. I'll go ahead and pause the video as I do that. As soon as I unpause, in just a moment, you'll see all those images. And with the magic of a bit of video editing, we can now see that I have a camera icon, an open icon, a pause icon, and a save icon, all created that same way. Let's now take a look at our layout. Now, one important thing, if I click on a button, I'm going to look for an attribute called SRC for source. And you might get a little frustrated if you don't see an attribute called source, because that's what our image is going to be. Well, we need not just a button, but a subclass of button called an image button. So you can, if you wish, you can replace all your buttons with image buttons and try and work with a layout, but that's going to be a bit of a pain. Instead of that, let's go back to the XML, and you only need to do this if you're converting buttons to image buttons. Just add the word image. There we go. And now your button is a more specific type. Now your button is an image button. So you can do it through the WYSIWYG, or you can do it through the XML, whichever you prefer. Now I save, and what's funny is it's expecting images, so our buttons have suddenly shrunk significantly. So this is our old pause button. Let me zoom up a bit so we can see that. Notice the word pause is no longer present, but aha! We now have this thing called source. And look at this. I can choose IC pause, choose OK, and we have a pause button. I go down to my buttons that are here, and once again I choose source, and let's do these one at a time. We'll go with save for the first one, and now we have a save button. For the second button, I go back to source, and for this one we'll choose our open, which is like an open file folder, and there we go. And for the final button, we'll make this the camera button. So the ones we're going to use the most frequently are the furthest left and the furthest right. That is save and the camera, and I choose OK, and now you see we have a more consistent theme throughout our application because now those button colors match the floating action bar. I'm sorry, the floating action button. We have a consistent look and feel throughout our application. We could play around with the background color and do some more things, but nonetheless our app is starting to come together. Let's go ahead and look at this in the emulator and see how it looks. And sure enough, here we go. By the way, while the video was paused, I did play with this button bar a little bit and get it in a little better place. I could probably tweak it a little bit more. But nonetheless, you see we have a more consistent color theme. Of course, this is just a placeholder image, so ignore that one. We could probably finagle the buttons a little more. We could change the background color, change the background of the screen. But nonetheless, you see our app is starting to come together. I hope this has been helpful. In the next video, we'll see how we can get access to these widgets on our screen from our activity using a library called Butterknife. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you.